Hi, my name is Suzanne Rain, and I want to welcome you to our new home market update presented by NewHomeSource Professional. This is a wonderful webinar that we try to do. We try to do it every few months. Is our goal, and we're really lucky because Jay McKenzie is here with us today to present to you. We think it's a great benefit that we have him to do the webinar for us. And just so you know, Angela Kellerman is going to be answering your questions, both Angela and I, and again, I'm Suzanne Rain. We are trainers for the NewHomeSource Professional Tool. Angela and I are both actually agents in the Austin area, so we have a different perspective, I think, sometimes in some trainers when they're presenting tools you use or market updates. He is with our company, BHI BDX. He is an 11-year veteran of the company, unless that's changed since the last did this, and he's with longer.
Oh no,
He
I'm
leads
dating myself. I'm up to 13 years now.
Oh wow,
Last
we
month.
got to fix that. Yeah. He leads our consumer insights and builders team. And this is then, I guess, what, like your 28th year then in the home building industry?
Yeah, 27. I started young.
Yeah, of course. Prior to BDX, he served as a publisher of Professional Builder magazine and built a network of new home and active adult resources for home buyers in 48 cities. So Jay has a lot of experience. I do want to tell you questions throughout the webinar. We ask that you use the Zoom Q&A tool. And if you're having any problems, say you can hear us now, you can see my screen now. If you're having any problems, we ask first, maybe check your own internet connection, your system. Personally, it's to be a lot of times when I have problems, it's me. But if you have questions, please use that Q&A, and then Angela will be happy to address them. Jay, take it away.
Well, thank you very much. And what I think I may do, I'm going to see if I can minimize this just to allow a little more focus on the slides. And also, what I was going to mention is I'm happy to take questions during, and Angela and Suzanne will shout out to me, and of course at the end as well. And Suzanne, I believe we're also recording this session, are we not?
Correct. It's being recorded, and everyone will get a copy of the registration. It's within 24 hours. So they don't get it like an hour after, but they will get a copy.
Well, thank you for your time. And Suzanne and Angela, as always, thank you for your many contributions. You're awesome. We appreciate everything you do for your fellow real estate professionals. Let's hop right in. I am going to just give you a quick grounding on the fact that we actually operate two different new home only websites. They are the largest websites in the nation that are 100% focused on new construction. NewHomeSource reaches 30 million new home shoppers and consumers per year, has more than 2,000 builders, more than 20,000 new home communities, and more than 200,000 new homes. And those could be fully completed spec inventory, under construction, quick move-in inventory coming soon, or to be built product. And we have this inventory in more than 400 markets across the United States, and 85% of the data is updated directly by the builder, in many cases daily. Now, the consumer site, NewHomeSource, when the consumer sends a lead, the builder will receive the consumer's contact information. But the consumer can definitely involve an agent and a real estate professional. And the builder can share directly with the consumer promotions and incentives. We're going to talk about those in quite a bit of detail in today's webinar, because it's an important thing that's making homes affordable at a time of 9 rate increases and price increases. Now, turning to the right of your screen, NewHomeSource Professional has the same content, but it's gated and it's reserved for more than 1 million professionals in the real estate industry, agents and brokers. And there's two ways to see this data. You can go to newhomesourceprofessional.com, but in dozens and dozens of MLSs and brokerages, you may find that the content from NewHomeSource Professional is available to you as a new home channel, if you will, on your MLS or brokerage dashboard. So whether you see the information through your MLS and our many wonderful partners among MLSs, or through your brokerage, or directly at newhomesourceprofessional.com, you're going to be seeing the same information. What's most important to know is you as an agent can request information on a new home community. You can request HOA fees, ask questions, you can set up an appointment, you can register your buyer, and at all times, the builder will know your name and contact information as a real estate professional, but the builder will never know your buyer's information, and that's entirely on purpose. So if you think of these two sites as being sister sites, NewHomeSource for the consumer, where they can't involve the agent, then NewHomeSource Professional. Now we're going to dive into the topic at hand, and I love this image. I've used it before if you've been on past webinars, and I do think it feels a lot like the market over the last several months, right? Let's take a look. One of the things we promise is very up-to-the-minute news. So some of these housing headlines are new in the last 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and the last couple of days. On the left-hand side, we're going to look at a couple of headlines that show promise and optimism about the market. And we're going to show some things that are more cautionary on the right. So just 21 minutes ago, Mortgage Professional reported that pending home sales are recovering, but asked the question, will the trend last? And of course, underlying this, as we all know, we've had 9 rate increases. We've had 2 or 3 bank failures. We've had the ongoing war in Ukraine. And we're starting to see layoffs, especially large ones in the tech industry. So certainly we're all trying to read the tea leaves. That's the point of this slide. Adam Data Solutions, about 8 hours ago, reported some good news we're going to talk about. Homeownership is becoming slightly more affordable, and that's good. Because as we all know, the consumer was getting increasingly priced out of housings for a lot of reasons that we'll talk about. Now, Fortune, this may seem to be a negative indicator, but actually I think it's really a positive one. Fortune found that 133 housing markets saw home prices decline in February, but twice as many saw home prices tick up a little higher. One of the key drivers, if you've been on past webinars or if you've attended any of the industry webinars, lumber went crazy after the pandemic. The Canadian mills stopped making as much lumber. There was an assumption that construction would slow down. It did not. And people who were staying home and working from home suddenly started going to Home Depot and buying lumber to remodel. And a lot of people in high-rise condominiums said, I want a single-family home with a yard. So as we all know, for the first month or two after the pandemic became real to America, there was a slowdown in housing. And then there was an unprecedented boom. Many builders and myself feel that what we did is we drew forward demand, and maybe 12, 14, 15 months of home demand, new home demand got purchased in those peak months as people really wanted to get into housing. Now, we're going to talk about the mortgage rates, right? But we're going to talk about how builders are reacting to it. And that's going to be a key takeaway you're going to see in a moment. This is actually affecting resale housing much, much more. As we'll see in a moment, builders are aggressively doing 2 things. They're slimming down the house, removing some standard options or standard features. They're doing everything to bring the house down in cost. And because lumber has fallen, which at one point was adding $24,000 to the average price for home, builders are able to also bring prices down a little bit there. And builders are also, as we'll see, being able to buy down rates, and you'll see what the impact is for your buyers. I happen to sit in Austin, Texas, which just ask anyone here and we'll tell you we're a hip music city and fast growing. But what's been interesting is when you read about Google, Amazon, Facebook, and other big tech companies doing layoffs in Silicon Valley, it's also happening here. So Austin and other tech hubs are cooling faster than other parts of the country. But if you happen to be here in Austin, like Suzanne and Angela, what we're seeing is the pricing is still holding a little bit steady. We're seeing some declines, yes, but we're not seeing, catastrophic drops yet. I know this is a national webinar, but what's been interesting is so much of new home construction occurs in what we call the smile. Start in Seattle, come down California, Oregon, coast, come across through New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, through Texas, through the southeast states of the deep south and up into North Carolina, Virginia. That housing geography looks a little bit like a smile. And for years, a high percentage of housing starts have occurred there. Right now, up to 20 to 25% of new homes sold in America are actually being sold in Texas, and Florida is close behind. So these are some of the hottest markets. But we're starting to see problems with high prices and inventory in South Florida. Now, CNBC was talking with Mark Zandi over at Moody's, and he's saying, well, the housing market was already dropping into recession before some of these things. And that's the big debate. But what I want to show you is how new homes are behaving differently and better at the moment and creating real options for you and your buyers. So there's 7 key takeaways here, and I'll go through the details, but I wanted to call them out at first. This is everyone on the webinar knows this and it experiences this to their toes, right? So I know I'm preaching to the choir, as the saying goes, but we're at extremely low resale home inventory. We're also at a situation where new home inventory is up, and I'm going to show you the details in a moment. And not only is new home inventory up, but new homes as a percent of inventory available, it's looking a little bit like a hockey stick. I'm going to show you that graph in a moment. What that means is we are at a point where a much larger percent of homes available for your buyers today are actually new construction. We're going to talk about why that's occurring. Also, not a surprise to anybody on the call, we all know that many buyers are sitting on the sidelines. If you have a 3.5% mortgage and you're looking at higher rates and you're looking at higher prices for homes and you don't feel urgency to move, the market could kind of freeze up a little bit. And that's what I think pretty much all of us on this phone call would agree with. I'm going to pause for a moment, Angela and Suzanne. I haven't opened the chat, but is there anything I need to respond to in chat at this point?
No, we haven't had any questions yet.
Oh, okay. I just saw something in chat. Thank you. The most important thing that's going on now is builders not only have inventory, but builders have the ability to bring prices down because lumber prices have come down. Land prices are stubbornly sticky. We're not seeing land prices come down as fast as we'd like. But by removing some standard features, going to slightly smaller floor plans and higher density in some areas, builders are able to bring prices down, which is important, opening up a group of buyers previously priced out. And unlike an individual buyer, if you're D.R. Horton selling 81,000 homes a year, or Lennar selling 60,000 homes a year, you have access to capital in multiple ways. You can issue equity and stock, debt, you can issue bonds, you've got revolving lines of credit, you've got incredible volume purchasing when you're buying your appliances and your building products, but you've also got the resilience and the ability to bring down housing prices in a fair way with homes that are not exactly comparable. We're not robbing equity from anyone. In other words, the home that is in many cases at a lower price, be a little bit smaller, some features have been removed, a little more density, able to bring that price down, and then buy down interest rates. And that is one of the big reasons why new homes are so attractive now. As you'll see, there's inventory, there's promotions, and there's rate buy downs.
Jay, somebody asked, and maybe for people that haven't worked with builders a lot, it's good to point out, somebody asked, do the buyers have to use the builder's lenders?
That's a really good question. And the answer is many times, yes. Not always, but many times, yes. And one of the things we're going to talk about is on NewHomeSource Professional, you will see promotions, rate buy downs, and of course, complete info. Suzanne is going to walk you through about 4 or 5 slides that show you what NewHomeSource Professional's content is for you and how you can use it. But what's really important is on NewHomeSource.com, we can share information with the consumer. Many builders can also share separate promotions for agents on NewHomeSource Professional. And many of those promotions and upgrades do require the preferred lender to be used. That's a good question. But the nice thing, we'll come back to this, but imagine that if you're a builder, you might want to offer incentives to an agent, 3% on the first home you sell, 4%, 5% if you're able to sell other homes, enhanced commission, invitations to events, other types of incentives. So builders can and do offer consumer incentives on NewHomeSource.com, but check out NewHomeSource Professional and see what builders are offering to you as an agent as well. And of course, as Suzanne will show you, you're going to have complete information on registering your buyer, understanding whether that is what we call confirmed co-op. I'll let Suzanne explain that. That's basically a way of the builder saying, yes, I am happy to work with buyer's agents. And you can not only find out all this information, but you can reach out, you can set up appointments virtually and in person. And there's a lot. And again, Suzanne's going to take you through that. But now I want to show you some of the supporting evidence for these things. If you've been on our past webinars, you know I'm a big fan of Fred. Fred is the Federal Reserve of St. Louis, and they are a wealth of information. And by the way, if you're ever looking for content or charts for your own blogs, or you want to put a blog post up about housing market trends, the URL is down there at the bottom, fred.stlouisfed, as in federalreserve.org. What you're looking at here is for 5 years, you're looking at, whoop, I'm sorry, I thought I had a bar flying in there. I guess I left that bar out. What you're looking at is the average supply of newly built homes, months supply of inventory. If you look in the middle, 6 months by many accounts is considered equilibrium in the overall market and also in the new home market. And from 2018 through the start of the pandemic in the gray bar, which also created the recession, we were hovering pretty tightly around 5.5, 6. We spiked to a little over 7 months inventory supply, but that line was not moving that much, right? It was a fairly stable amount of new home inventory for you and your buyers. And then what happened is, we all remember that in the pandemic, we all thought, wow, builders actually, in the first month, some of them actually did layoffs. How wrong that proved to be, right? Because people riding in elevators and high-rise apartments, and the amenities were closed, and the rooftop patio and the health club and all the restaurants and bars around their apartment building downtown were closed. All of a sudden, that single family home with a yard started to look really, really good. And of course, new home sales went up and up and up and up and up all the way until around July of 2022. We remember those days. We remember when there was no spec home inventory. We remember when builders were, taking reservations on interest lists, and it was very, very hard to get into a home. Now, what we also saw, remember those strikes at Long Beach, and you couldn't unload the container ships, and a lot of appliances had semiconductor chips coming in from China or Asia, or even actual product. And so housing started to slow down for a lack of garage doors, overhead garage doors, appliances, windows, etc. And then what we saw is we're seeing some coasting down because of 9 Federal Reserve rate increases as well. But again, builders have an answer to help you. We talked about the market share for new homes. I'm going to fly in some highlights here. This data comes from the National Association of Realtors with commentary and charting and graphing from our friends at Zonda. And what you're seeing on the left is a seasonally adjusted annual rate for existing home sales. Again, looking back on about a 4-year trend here. And you're seeing to the left, before the pandemic, we saw existing home sales rising from 5 million a year to about 5.5 million a year and kind of staying there. Then we saw that big dip. Remember the V-shape and all that talk about K-shaped recovery or V-shaped recovery. And of course, what happened is work from home became work from anywhere, particularly in tech and knowledge. People could work from home, continue business as usual, and home sales just soared, and it was unexpected. And we drew demand forward, and new home communities that thought that it would take 2 to 3 years to sell out sold out much faster. And builders who look to sell 2 new homes per community per month as a benchmark, suddenly we're selling 4, 5, or 6 new homes, and in some cases even higher. Levels of sales volume that were simply unprecedented. Then you see the market start to slow down for all homes on the left. And when you look over to the right, you see some of the same things, but look at the right-hand side of both charts. So what you're seeing is existing home sales are down just under 1% month over month, but new home sales are actually up 13.5%. And year over year, existing home sales are down 34%, but a much smaller, less than 24% decline on the right. So this leads to that market share gain that we spoke about. And you see it here. What you're looking at is the percent of homes available for sale, inventory homes, that are new construction. If you look at the chart, it's pretty easy to see that for most of the period between 1982 and 2007, new homes represented about 10 to 15% of inventory. New homes in inventory were 10 to 15% of total inventory, to be clear. New homes were also, in that period, by no surprise, about 10 to 15% of homes sold. What you're seeing in 2007, of course, was the housing bubble that burst in 2007, 8, on the way through 2010. So all home sales went down, new home sales went down. Then what you're seeing is that steady rise from 2012 when the market recovered, and then everything that you just saw on the earlier slides. But what's interesting here, the key takeaway is if we were at 15% share of market, and now we're at 30%, you can clearly see that builders have ramped up production, communities are opening. We estimate that 5,000 new home communities will be opening this year, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity. Now, this is the heart of the matter too. And again, this chart is from our friends at Zonda. And builders, because they're large corporations with deep cash reserves that did surprisingly well during the pandemic, had the ability to bring down square footage, remove some standard features, go to some higher density, and benefit from lower lumber prices and material prices. And they were able to reduce prices. So what you're seeing is, on the left-hand side, you're seeing the number of builders that are offering rate buy downs, and it's nearly 2/3 of builders. And over half of builders have lowered prices between 5 and 20%. And again, it was on the factors that we've discussed. This wasn't, math or a shell game. It was a lot of hard work in terms of improving efficiency, bringing square footage down, going to higher density. So what you've got is builders that have been able to offer incentives, buy down mortgage rates, and also reduce prices. At the time when all the product that was in the pipeline, builders have been working very hard to increase capacity and open new communities, and it's all coming together. The new home inventory is doubled, new home market share is doubled, builders are bringing prices down, builders are buying down rates. That's creating opportunity for you and your buyers. We talked about the price inputs. We talked about lumber, and lumber was famous. If you may recall, I mentioned at the peak of lumber price craziness, it actually was adding $24,000 to the price of an average new home just to buy the lumber. So builders would put a $24,000 price increase on the average new home just for lumber. That didn't include copper, that didn't include all the other inputs to construction. And of course, some of that was shortage related. Companies were not able to bring as many people into factories. Shipping was log jammed at Long Beach and ports around the world, and all the things we know that happen. But what we're seeing here is after that hockey stick growth, where for almost 2 complete years, the price of products to build homes just went up and up and up and up. What's great to see is there's a little uptick recently, but prices are stabilizing, and that's creating a lot of this value for your buyer. Go ahead. You don't see it, but I have this over my headline. Let me move something here. So here is the home ownership rate in America, the percent of homeowners, the percent of households rather, that own a home. And what you'll see on the left is from 2018 through 2019, you were seeing home ownership rates of between 64 and 65% of households were actually owning a home. Then you've got a combination of the pandemic in the gray bar and the immediate recession that it introduced, which led to the Fed doing the quantitative easing, building the money supply, and reducing rates. And again, you saw the home ownership rate shoot up like a rocket from a little over 65% to almost 68% in a very, very short period of time. But then prices going up, land costs, materials, rates going up, and you see the rates start coming back down. But what we're seeing now is with the availability of inventory, new communities opening, and rate buy downs and incentives, builders are working really hard to help you put your clients in new homes, brand new, under warranty, everything guaranteed and insured there, if you will. One of the things that I think is most important are our friends at Builder Magazine did a survey of millennials. There's been a lot of discussion about it. We like to talk about the great delay. Millennials, as the largest generation in history, have been going to college in higher percentages, staying in college in higher percentages, especially women, going to grad school in higher percentages, dating longer, getting engaged later in life, getting married later in life, and having children later in life. And there's been a lot of angst about the price of housing, and rightfully so. And would housing become affordable? Would housing be affordable when millennials were ready to buy? And the thing that I think is so encouraging about this is in this recent survey, 98% of millennials said that if they don't own a home already, they want to. So in other words, they're not giving up on the dream. This is their 6th annual millennial survey. It's more than 1,000 respondents across the country. What's interesting is millennials are the largest living generation now in the United States as baby boomers start retiring and exiting the population. And so, as Builder noted, the decision of millennials, are they going to buy and when they're going to buy a home, is the single biggest driver of the market. Now, we always promise you the latest news on the housing market, and I don't have a slide on this, but we'll put it in. Maybe we can attach it to something and get it out to people. But NAR just released something, I believe it might have been released as soon as this morning, that said right now, even though boomers are fewer in the population than millennials, they're actually the largest share of home buyers. And that's not surprising, right? They have a lot of equity. Many of them can buy a home for cash. Many of them can be baby chasers, following their adult children to hot job growth markets, from Phoenix to Las Vegas to Austin to Birmingham, Alabama, to Nashville, to Charlotte, to Raleigh. And those boomers can retire and buy a new home. And because many are cash buyers, they're not interest rate sensitive. And because many also may choose to have a small mortgage for tax reasons, the impact of a rate on a smaller mortgage is much less. So that's brand new breaking news. I saw as I was getting on the webinar that boomers are actually the largest share of home buyers right now, according to NAR, which means we should be thinking about taking these boomers, many of whom might want to look at 55 plus housing, but many of whom don't. In surveys BDX has done, we found that many of them want to live in multi-generation, new homes, single level, low maintenance, and they want to be in the same community, and they want to be in a community where there's a community pool. What a lot of builders and developers are doing is creating a have your cake and eat it too strategy with communities that have a gated enclave for 55 plus buyers with their own pool and community center. But that same resident can also take part in the larger community's pool and rec center. So when their grandkids come, there's a splash pool and all sorts of fun things for the kids to enjoy, the grandkids. We've talked about this before. This was done before the start of 2023 by Urban Land Institute. It's largely been borne out, so I continue to show it to you. What you're seeing is job growth is the driver of housing growth. Right now, immigration is not, in population gains are not. You know, the birth rate is low, immigration is low. So the real driver of housing is job formation. And when you look at where job formation is happening, it's in that smile we talked about. It's in the Sun Belt, it's in the Southeast, and California at 39 million residents is shrinking. Texas at 30 million is rising, and Florida is a big player as well. So this is where we expected to see the growth for home building before the year started. And as the year unfolds, this list is largely still a pretty good indicator. So in a minute, I'm going to turn this over to Suzanne, but I'm going to take questions at the end. But I just want to offer a classic recap if you're willing. We all know there's extremely low resale inventory. As we've just shown you, new home inventory is now 30% of inventory homes available, double what it has been historically. Builders have been building as fast as they can. They've been buying land as developers, assembling it, getting it permitted and driving in roads and utilities and water. And all that pipeline work we've talked about on past webinars results in the fact that there is new home inventory. That's why the share of market for new homes is up. And buyers who might feel sidelined with a 3% mortgage and who might otherwise be unwilling to buy after 9 rate increases and many months of price increases are reacting as builders are able to bring prices down in a controlled fashion and reacting to the promotions and special offers, and in particular, the rate buy downs. We've all heard it, right? Buy the house, date the rate. A lot of builders are helping you and your buyers find inventory and get home buyers into their home. And I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne here in a minute, and she's going to show you all the wonderful stuff that is on NewHomeSource Professional. She's also going to show you your own free microsite called showingnew.com, which allows you to position yourself as a new home expert, get free leads, and even borrow inventory to create demand for your services. And of course, NewHomeSource Pro, as she's going to mention, not to steal your thunder, Suzanne, but there's a lot of information there about how to register your buyer, how to get your questions answered for your buyer, and even how to set up appointments. So with that, Suzanne, can I ask if there are questions, and happy to answer them. And if not, we can turn it over to you.
We did have one question, and Kelly asked it, and I'm not sure I understand. Say you understand, and sometimes I know people mistype words. How long stays the price that the builders offer before it's released to the general public?
Okay. Yes, I think I have some thoughts on it. I'm going to try to answer it in a staircase, and if I don't fully answer it, please hop back into chat and tell me what part that you'd like clarification on. So the first thing that we're seeing is builders are offering special promotions and rate buy downs, usually in 1-month increments that vary by market. And some of the larger builders, such as Lennar and D.R. Horton, let's take D.R. Horton. They have a semi-annual red tag sale, but what they do is that sale might occur at the same time across the country, but the different local markets will offer different prices because of the cost of land and the price of labor. And so incentives are offered in many cases first at the local market level, and they can and do vary from market 1 to market 2. Secondly, many builders offer incentives that last for 1 month. And so here we are, tomorrow's the end of March. So a lot of builders have incentives that will be expiring tomorrow, but most of those builders that are offering incentives, many will likely issue new incentives for the month of April or continue and roll over the existing incentives. And one of the things that you can find with NewHomeSource Professional is you'll find the latest information, and you can also reach out to a builder's online sales counselor who looks like a concierge service, if you will. Say a builder has 8 communities in your market. The online sales counselor helps talk to you and your buyer and identify which communities might be the best match for you. And that online sales counselor is a great source of information about current incentives. I have seen some quarterly incentives, but in today's market, in my experience, most promotions and incentives are for 1 month at a time. And you can find those details on NewHomeSource Professional and by reaching out to the builder. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, well, like you said, if anybody needs more clarification, just put some comments in the chat, and maybe Jay can look at them while I'm talking about NewHomeSource Professional. So NewHomeSource Professional, as Jay has mentioned many times, it's a really valuable tool for agents to be able to share information with new construction, with builders in their market, so that their buyers get it very easily in a nice, concise fashion. There's a way for them to reach back out to you. He also mentioned that we partner with MLSs, and we also partner with some brokers across the nation. So on this screen on the right-hand side, that's some of our partners there. Greater Albuquerque, CRMLS in California, Beaches MLS, Miami, Stellar. If you're curious, if you don't see your MLS on here, you're welcome to ask the question, and Angela can let you know if we partner with you. We partner with brokers like ERA, different Keller Williams brokers across the nation, Realty One Group, just to name a few. And of course, if you don't see your MLS here, we don't partner with your broker, you can always access us on our website, www.newhomesourceprofessional.com. And if you are a broker, if you are a member of an MLS, maybe you're on an MLS committee, we do offer a co-branded, the New Home Source Professional site that's free. So it doesn't cost you to partner with us to provide your agents or your members this tool. And it's really valuable, I think. Jay, you want to go on to the next slide?
I sure can.
So when you run a search in New Home Source Professional, there is a lot of information that you can provide your buyers out there. And so the screen that Jay had shown previously had our main dashboard where you would run the search.
Sorry about that. I'll go back to it.
Oh, that's okay.
You're ready for me to be on? Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm ready for you to move on.
Yeah.
Right. And this is an example of what we call our full detail view whenever you go in to look at information about a property, about a community. And I think that's great because you can find a lot of information about both the community and one individual property that's out there. So you can see it says it was last updated 1 day ago. And I know an agent asked a question about how often is this refreshed? How accurate is this information? And Jay can correct me if I'm wrong. What I always had been told was about 85% of the information on here is like an automatic feed that comes straight from the builders. There's very little of it that has to be manually updated by the builder. So most of the time I see last updated 1 day ago, 12 hours ago. We stress all the time, Angela and I do in our webinars, that confirm anything you see on our site. I feel like that's no different. And I mentioned earlier that I'm an agent, than calling up a listing agent to maybe clarify some information just so I don't pass the wrong information on to my buyer. So I think that anything you see here, just remember, still clarify it, just because you want to confirm that they didn't raise a price 1 hour ago and this says updated 1 day ago. So that's always good information. You can see there that it will show you on the right-hand side if this is verified co-op. And what that means is that we've received confirmation from the builder of all the information when it comes to, do they pay agents? Now, any builder that's on New Home Source Professional is supposed to pay agents. That's why you're there. So if you happen to see a builder who told you yesterday, well, we don't work with agents, you can reach out to us and let us know using the contact us on the screen, any of your New Home Source Professional pages. And we will pull off a builder if there's a question, and then the builder has to then confirm again and say, yes, we do pay agents. That was a mistake or something like that. We started that verified co-op in the pandemic when builders had gone back and forth between, they used to pay agents, maybe some, but now they weren't. I will tell you, in the Austin area now, I don't really know of any that aren't working with agents and paying with agents. They want to work with you. And so we started this then. I don't see a lot of non-verified co-op badges on our site yet. And if you see one that doesn't say verified, that says, I think it's unverified, that does not mean they don't work with agents. That means they haven't been able to verify any kind of exact information that they've sent to us. Again, we tell you to verify everything, because it could be that today they started a promotion for an agent and they'll pay you 5% instead of 3%. So always confirming that information is great. There's the builder contact information, and you can reach out and ask questions from New Home Source Professional. So this makes it valuable to you. And sometimes you'll see things like other media on these sites where they'll show you the interactive floor plans, maybe a YouTube video. One thing we like to stress is if you see something on the New Home Source Professional, the information for the communities, the listing, and it maybe directs you to a floor plan on the builder site, your buyer does not see that link. They're going to need to ask you about, do they have interactive floor plans, if your buyer knows what interactive floor plans are yet. So don't worry if you see links directly to the builder on your New Home Source Professional agent account. On your showing new site that Jay mentioned earlier, where your clients actually look at the information you share, they don't have access to go straight to a builder's site. Anything on that site, which I'm going to talk to, really directs back to you. So you can see here on this, it gives you builder contact information, their hours. From here, you can send a question asking how do you register that client. You can save or email a listing. You can print out a report. So there's a lot of nice information here. Do you want to move on, because it's got more I can share? If you scroll down those full detail screens, you see even more information about the community. So some builders will go all out and give you everything from the HOA information, restaurants in the area, school information. Some of them just give you the information about the community. But it's really nice because we have a way for you can get driving directions. There's a commute calculator, so you can add in your client's work, and they've already said they don't want to drive more than 20 minutes to get to work. That way you can help them a little. And then also just a little more details here on the communication with the builders and that agent compensation. We do have some builders give us exact information. It'll say 3%. You have a link to their registration page. You have a link to their agent policies. My theory, and you can correct me if he disagrees, is sometimes I think they don't like to put the exact, because they change that. Again, they may offer a promotion or something like that. So they want you to ask them for the most up-to-date information.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Suzanne. As we said, it often changes monthly, and it can and does vary from one market to another. And in some cases, also from a community to another. You will see in new homes, there's 3 stages. There's coming soon, in which case a buyer with a long time frame can join an interest list. There's an actively marketed community with, in most cases, a model home on the ground and homes under construction and available to be built to your client's needs, or some spec inventory. And then you get to the closeout. And so what you'll see a lot of times in the closeout community is the builder's down to a couple of lots. They may offer some incentives. And then the last thing they'll do on the way out, in many cases, is sell the model home. So again, the incentives vary not only by month and by market, but even by the community.
Right. So Jay, you want to go to the next slide? And this shows you a little bit about the search process that is on New Home Source Professional. It points out that we had over 1,300 builders, and this is a national tool. So I always think it's nice if you have somebody you've listed their home, but they're moving, you could still possibly help get them some information on new construction in a market that they're moving to out of your area. Over 150,000 listings nationwide. We do free webinars, as this says, every week like this one, but we have other webinars that actually walk you through the step-by-step. How do you run a search? How do you set up that showing new site? So those are really nice. And then we try to incorporate special webinars like this one here with Jay today. So on the main screen, you run that search, and it has limited filters with price, beds, bath, square feet. But once you get over on the right-hand side there, you can see it shows you the results of your search. And then you also have other filters on that. So we have things like you can search by everybody that sends us asks about searching 55 and over communities, as you said. In the filter, it's actually called adult senior community. You can search for things like they want 2-story, but the master on the main floor or something. So it's comparable to an MLS in that you can really pinpoint your client search there. So it's just a nice way for you to be able to share all of this information with your buyer. And you don't have to go out to 5, 6, 7 builders, different websites to obtain the information. Jay, you want to move on? Thank you. So the agent branded capture page is the showing new site that Jay mentioned earlier. So when you sign up with New Home Source Professional, along with being able to access all the information about new communities in your email and share those listings with your clients, you're able to customize the showing new site. That's what we call it. So most of the time your default is showing new / your first name, last name. And in our other webinars, we do talk about how do you go in there and customize that? Can you change that URL name? And how do you add your photo, your logo, so that it is branded specifically to you? Like that's my site, and I have a picture I took of it's actually from Lady Bird Lake, although you can't see it on this picture, and it has the lake. And so you can take a picture. I wouldn't suggest just taking them off the internet, or the photographers typically get upset with you for copyright, but you can go take your own kind of photo. So it's really nice because you can start marketing yourself by creating a post in Facebook or an Instagram story or Twitter or any site that you use, and you can just add your link with a little bit of information about how you can help a buyer with construction. And a lot of times when buyers go see builders without an agent, it's not because they're malicious. They just actually don't know, one, that you can possibly help them, and two, that you might have to register them before they go. So this is a great way to start promoting yourself and letting your network know that you can help them with not only resale, but with new construction also. And then, you know, say you're somebody in your network's mom, dad, brother, cousin, sister sees your post and they go to your site, they could create an account, and then you would get a lead and it would be free. So it would just be your effort and time put into creating this and marketing yourself.
Yeah, but everything is free, right? The showing new site is free. The leads
Right.
that you're able to generate, this is intended as a great tool for you.
Right. So there's not a lot of things that we can say. It's all free. So this screen is one of the features that's really popular with New Home Source Professional, and that is that you can take any of the communities, any of the listings that are on the New Home Source Professional site, and you can share them not only in an email with your clients, but to social media. So whenever you run a search, you're going to see either on the summary side of the search results, or when you look at the full details, it's on the full detail page, it's actually underneath the builder contact. You see that get shareable link, and all you're really doing is copying that link, going to any social media site that you use, typing up your post, and then you paste that link. And when you post that, anybody who sees that and clicks on it will be directed back to your showing new site. So you can promote yourself with just the URL for your showing new site. You can promote yourself with the shareable link that we have. So this is really nice because again, it doesn't matter what site you use, you can use it. And now that you can, it's not that new, but now that you can put links on Instagram stories, you can go out there and create a post. You have to come up with your own image because you can't download any of the photos that are on New Home Source Professional. That's why we gave you the shareable link. So it is a fantastic way to market yourself out there. The story I tell all the time, and again, if you've taken my webinars, you've heard it. I was at a dinner one night, I'd been sharing these, and somebody asked about a new community, and somebody else said, ask Suzanne, she knows everything about the new communities out there. And I'd really been sharing these a lot at the time. So it's a nice way for you to market yourself. You can promote the builder, you can promote the community, or you can promote just yourself as an agent that can watch out for the builder's interest, you know, when they're going to visit the builder. So it's great. And again, the leads that you get if you post and somebody you don't know goes to your site, they're totally free. And then I think this is my last slide, but it's the New Home Source Professional widget. So you have your own website. You can create like a page, a section somewhere that says search new construction, and you're able to add this New Home Source Professional widget to that page. So you have somebody on your site, they're searching, they see your link, they could run a search, and even though mine says Austin there, the buyer could type in any city and run a search that will direct them back to your showingnew.com site. So Once again, you're letting your network know that you can help them with builders, and then you're easily letting them run a search courtesy of you that provides a lot of information without them having to go to all these different websites. So I think it adds value to you as an agent to be able to help your your buyers more. And this is another one of those that if you take one of our other webinars where we talk about I always call it the click here, we can show you how you get this code and you can add it to your own website there.
Terrific.
So, and we did have somebody just to comment,
Sure.
like, the difference between NewHomeSource Professional. And the one thing that we like to point out a lot in our webinars is when you're talking to your buyers, maybe don't call it NewHomeSource Professional, because that's what you use. What they use is your showing new site. So there's no confusion between you and your buyer as to where they should be going to look, because we all know there's the buyer that as soon as you say something, they're on their phone, or as soon as they leave you, they're Googling what you said. And just to avoid confusion, we always say, make sure you just tell them you're going to send them the link to your showing new site. And that way they can run their own searches.
That's enormously good advice, Suzanne, and thanks for clarifying that. The reason we like to point out that there is a consumer site is just for the reason of saying NewHomeSource Professional is built for agents, with the relationship between buyer and agents totally respected. And no, that's a great point. Thanks for clarifying that.
And we had a couple of questions.
Sure.
Somebody asked about the link that you share. It does have a photo. So Sherry asked if the link share does not have a photo, but yes, there does have a photo. If you share your own link, it pops up with the photo you've uploaded to your account. And if you share a link for a community or a listing, it shows the photo that the builder has provided. And then somebody else about some of the questions, like where do you find the code? If you want to know sooner, you can send us a question using the contact us on the NewHomeSource Professional site, and we can send you some instructions. But we do go over that detail by detail in our webinars that we do. And then we did have a question that maybe you can address. And this, I think, is market to market. Diane said she thought it appeared the smaller custom home luxury builders are not participating on the site. Why would they choose not to participate? I do feel like that's market to market, because I do see some smaller builders out there, the luxury ones. So it just depends on what your market is. But Jay can probably answer that question a little better.
Well, sure. And some of that's historical. Our company works with a number of the largest builders in the nation, and we started that way. But 22 years ago, when we got going, they realized that in order to build a complete site with all types of new homes available in all points of the compass, they would need to invite in and treat equally small, mid-sized, local, single market custom builders. And we do. But there is still some in our DNA. Many of the largest builders automatically list with us. So some of that is historical. And then our sales team reaches out to the builder. And by the way, if you happen to be working with a builder for marketing and sales, we can help you with that. Builders pay a fee per community per month to list their community for sale. In the Austin area, for example, the range is between $200 and $400, and it depends on the size of the market and how much traffic is going into the market on a national basis. But for $200 to $400 a month, the builder can list their community for sale on NewHomeSource, NewHomeSource Professional, and our network of sister sites. So what we always say is, if you have a builder that you think ought to be on NewHomeSource and NewHomeSource Professional, we'd certainly welcome an introduction, and feel free to suggest that the builder reach out to us using the contact form. We are always looking to add new builders to the site.
Thanks, Jay. And yeah, we tell them that too. If you know of a builder that you don't see on the site, just let us know, and we send that information over to the sales team so they can reach out to the builder. And we did get some questions on chat.
Sure.
I apologize if you asked it on chat. That's why we try to tell you to use Q&A, because we're monitoring the Q&A a little more. So let me go through some of these. And some of them, it looks like y'all were just chatting amongst each other, but
okay.
And a lot of the questions are, where do I go to do this in New Home Source Professional? We really don't have time to go through all this step by step, unfortunately, in this webinar. But if you go on to newhomesourceprofessional.com to the resources tab, you'll click webinars and you'll see when all our webinars in April are going to be. And also, if you are like, no, I want to start using now, again, we do have recordings of our old webinars on that same page. You just scroll past the current schedule and you can send us those questions using that contact us button. Somebody asked, can we register someone that is not present? Example, a buyer that lives out of state. And Jay, again, you can disagree with me if I'm wrong, but I would say that's really a question for the builder, because each builder has their own policies and procedures. Some still say you have to walk through the door with them. Some say you can register them online. And that's, I'll call up and I'll say, I heard you have to come in. They'll say, no, as long as you register online, or you call their internet sales team and they register the buyer for you, and then they email confirmation. So I think that, again, it's still up to the builder question.
Yes, but I can tell you that up to 40% of people searching for newly built homes don't live in the market they're searching in. So it's a very common occurrence. And builders have gotten very, very eager, as Suzanne mentioned, to serve you and serve your buyers. And as Suzanne also mentioned, I don't know of a builder here in the Austin area either that's not actively working with buyer agents and paying commission. So
right. I don't so far. And not only are they working with agents, even if they weren't during the pandemic, they're very active. I get emails all the time. I would personally suggest, if you really want to just make this a specialty, go visit these communities, meet the on-site sales agents. They put you on email list and they're constantly letting you know about buyer promotion, agent promotions. And they're really grateful when you're like, I say, I'll be like, can I take some pictures and do my own posts? And they're like, yes. They love that you're working with them. And so it's really great to have all that. And they send emails several times a day. It's not the same builder, but they do free CE classes. Come visit the site. You get a lunch, usually a free CE class. So there's a lot of events right now. I think, I don't remember what it is in town. It's doing agent happy hours all the time because they want to get you there. And they're pretty sure they know if you give agents free food and possibly wine or beer, then they might get you in there. Somebody asked, do agents get paid only once the buyer closed, or paid partially when they make their deposit? Now, I've never seen, and my mother was an agent in Austin for 40 years, so I feel like I've been an agent since I was like 12. And I've never seen one that paid partial. It's usually once it's closed and they move, they're moving into the house, things like that. But Jay, again, can tell me if he's heard of builders that pay beforehand.
Yeah, it's rare and it's partial. And I think one of the reasons why is cancellation rates are not that high, but we are seeing in the economy, 6 months ago, Facebook, Amazon, and Google were hiring 10,000 people a month. Well, now they're laying off 10,000 people. So I think there's some reticence there because they want to make sure that the home proceeds through close throughout the construction phase, the option selection phase. So, but the thing I think Suzanne and Angela have done a great job of is they built a pipeline where they're constantly showing newly built homes. They're constantly having homes going under construction, and then you've got that pipeline. So, and I can speak from personal experience. My sister-in-law is with the largest Berkshire Hathaway brokerage team in St. Louis, and she's a newer agent, and she's their rookie of the year so far for the first quarter. And she's done the same thing, right? She's actively showing new, she's building her pipeline, and she's getting that flywheel turning. So,
right.
So what I thought I might do we have other questions? Because I'd rather answer the audience questions if they have them.
Right. Marcia asked, does the builder have their own contracts or use the local state? I know in Texas, they have their own contracts, and I think it's the same across the nation, but it also would be dependent on state, maybe, right, Jay?
Yeah, it is. And that's a very good point. Many contracts are done by the builder level, the larger builders especially, that are national but they still are subject to state law. What you will see sometimes is the National Association of Home Builders has created a purchase agreement that smaller builders might use if they don't want to go out and, hire an attorney from scratch and build their own agreement. So it is pretty common that the contract will be, from the builder.
Right. And then we had one more that came up. I think it was about, on average, how long does a build take from groundbreaking to closing, which I know is very different depending on the build, the market that you're in.
And also the product type. You've got several builders like D.R. Horton with their Express Series and LGI that are working aggressively to serve the first-time buyer. These are homes that are very standardized floor plans. There's often a very limited option selection. They're designed to be built more quickly in higher volumes. And you can't move a weight-bearing wall, for instance. You might be able to change the countertop and stuff. And those homes are designed to be constructed to get people in some cases in 6 to 8 months. But the distortions that occurred 6 months ago because builders simply couldn't get overhead garage doors or they couldn't get appliances. What some builders were doing with full transparency is they were working with agents and buyers and saying, look, I can close your home with a construction grade garage door on it with the written understanding that when I get your final, desired garage door, I'm going to come install it, right? Fortunately, what we're seeing is that it's not gone, but some of the supply chain disruptions are lessening. And the last truism is the more expensive the home, the more custom the home, and the smaller the builder, typically that construction timeline is going to expand.
Right. So it is 11:31. If you have questions that we didn't get to, you are welcome to go to New Home Source Professional and click contact us. I don't know. Jay may be busy, so we probably want to wrap this up soon. But if you want to go through the FAQs that you have, Jay.
Yes, what I'll do them kind of quickly, and I'll bring them up on the screen so that they're part of the recording. We've already covered that builders will not receive your buyer's contact information. They will only receive yours, and we will never share your buyer's information with any builder. Not all builders are listed, but more than 1,300 are, with over 13,000 new home communities nationally. And like we said, if a builder's not on our site, we'd love to add them. And if you'd like to offer a referral, we would certainly appreciate that. And again, how that verified co-op button is the first step in knowing that a builder is going to offer commission to you. But as Suzanne and Angela always wisely say, it's always good to check because commission policies can vary by market, by builder, and they can especially vary, as we heard, when a community is in closeout. Very often, the builder may choose to offer enhanced commission. Working to how to register your buyer with a builder. We've talked about that extensively, and the bottom line, Suzanne and Angela always say, is ultimately reach out to the builder. I often recommend speaking to the online sales counselor as the first point of contact if they have one. We also recommend, as Suzanne says, to confirm details in writing, and you'll find that builders are eager to work with you. Can you place your New Home Source Pro widget on Facebook or other social media? As powerful as a widget is, it's designed for use on your agent website. So the answer to that question is no. And as we mentioned briefly before, if your brokerage or MLS would like to have a co-branded version of the New Home Source Pro platform, reach out to us. We love partnering with MLSs and brokerages, and we'd love to provide, we can speak to your committee of an MLS or your marketing team at a brokerage about that. And then to bring it home, I'm going to thank you for joining us. I think, Suzanne, you may have some final words, but again, you may find that New Home Source Professional is actually housed within your MLS or broker dashboard. But if it's not, you can always find us at newhomesourceprofessional.com. We'd certainly love for you to follow us at facebook.com/NHS Pro or on Twitter. And I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'd like to thank Suzanne and Angela. And Suzanne, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, thank you, Jay, so much. We really appreciate you being here and providing all of this valuable information. And we want to thank everyone from joining for joining. We know that you're all busy with clients, so we appreciate it. New Home Source Professional is a great tool. We would welcome any of you to sign up for our other webinars if you haven't used it and you're interested in learning more about it, and send any questions that you have our way. We're happy to help. And have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you now.